Yes, Jim. Off we go.
All
Well,
right,
welcome, Jim from North America and Scott from North America.
yes.
Jim is a Master of Teaching secondary student, and Scott is a Master of Teaching primary student. So, and we're here today to talk about COVID-19 and the implications for our students. Now, I was struck the other day by a post from a student in Tasmania who shared that how the journey was going in her life down there in terms of continuing the relationship with her students. These were young primary age kids. And she produced a video of her playing a song that she then put online for her students. And something clicked with me that her kids, who were now not able to see her on a daily basis, could actually see her looking at the camera and talking and singing, in fact, to them. And I think that was a very powerful connection that if we all go online, we will, we'll lose maybe weeks, months of that vital interaction with people, because that's what we are. We're teachers, and we can't just be pushed into a digital platform and just function. So I thought, well, look, we've got dozens of students out there that we're not going to see from time to time with intensives in the next little while. So I thought it'd be very important to try and connect. So that's what I'm trying to do today. So I was going to ask these two guys if you would like to throw curly questions at me or make any comments about the current state of the world. I think I'd love to, while you're thinking about what you might want to ask me, I'd just like to rehearse a few of the main points of the news as regards education. First of all, those students on placement. We as a college are in very close contact with all the other universities in New South Wales that do education, 17. And we've been having meetings, and there's another one due this Friday to discuss with NESA, the accreditation people, as to how we're going to manage disruption. But the bottom line is that we're treating every single student as an individual, and we're not packaging you up into a bundle and saying, well, that's what happens to placements, because there isn't one size fits all. It's totally unique. So I'm really confident that we will handle every case, and Jeff Voller is brilliant. Next, as of Monday, and therefore for our term 2, we'll be entirely online. Now, all our subjects have been online and intensive, so the move to online, I don't think really disrupts education much, if at all, or it needn't. And I'm praying that will be the case. Lecturers and tutors are being encouraged to go on Zoom more than they've done in the past. And I'm not prescribing how often, but be really productive and connect with as many people as possible. The idea being to do a synchronous meeting and record it and put it on the Moodle for those who can't make it to that meeting. So I think that's brilliant. Students are encouraged to download key readings early in the term in case their internet goes wobbly and for a week or whatever they can't get internet access. At least they've got stuff on their computer. And term 2, a reminder, is 27th of April to 3rd of July. And that's my headlines. So over to you guys. Any comments, any reflections, any questions?
Okay. Well, originally I thought when you asked me to do this, I thought we might be talking about what the implications towards teaching are going to be, not necessarily what the implications for Alpha Crucis are going to be in the delivery there. I would like to encourage that we do something like that. I think that all of this is going to radically change, even once this whole thing is over, how delivery is presented in terms of teaching. I think it would be a very important thing. At Alpha Crucis, with that in mind, I think it's really important that the lecturers might want to restructure their content to sort of model what could be done in the classroom, if that's possible. In terms of questions, I have specific ones that other people might be in the same sort of boat as I am in terms of visa information, visa. So the question I had with you, and we briefly spoke about it before on the phone, Jim, was how does this affect me? Like this term, I'm in now, because a lot of things have happened, right? You've just gone to a term-by-term basis instead of semester basis. Then all of this stuff happened. So I had, in order to be a international student, you have to be enrolled in at least 3/4 of full time. So that means 3 classes. I was doing 1 class this term and then 2 next term. But then now, next term, if I can't do my placement, that means one of the classes is taken away.
Yeah, and I can confirm that that requirement for overseas students is now waived. You don't have to be in a face-to-face class to fulfill your visa obligations. Hello, have you frozen or are you just stunned?
I'm okay. I haven't frozen.
I think Scott's frozen.
Has he?
But yeah, so hopefully he'll come back. The other thing I was going to say about Scott's comment about the overseas, the visa implications if placements are delayed, is that no students. We've got noises off, but you're frozen a bit, Scott.
I don't know what happened. This whole thing just went crazy.
Well, what I was saying when you went frozen, have you frozen again?
No, I think I'm back.
You're back.
I've lost Jim. I thought I could see all of you, but now I can only just see you. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
Okay. What I was saying was that I've heard that the visa requirement for attendance is now waived. So because of COVID-19, that isn't going to be a problem to you.
Yeah, I'm seeing Jim. When I see Scott's screen come up every now and again, it says his bandwidth is low. So that might be the issue.
Yeah. Scott, do you want to try and take your picture off and just use your voice?
Yeah, is it just my bandwidth that's low? Because
well, Scott, when I see your screen come up, I'm seeing it right now. It says Scott's network bandwidth is low.
Okay, let me try a different place.
Go for it, Scott.
Okay, so sorry, I missed everything that you just said, Jim. We zoomed out, as it were.
Yeah, what I was saying was your concern was as a international student and your requirement to be present at intensives as part of your visa obligations. Well, I'm telling you and others that that requirement is no longer current. That's been cleared. The other thing I was going to say to you is that if your placement is rolled over into another semester, and that has implications for your visa, our people, International Student Officer, will take care of that, and our commitment to you is that you shouldn't be out of pocket.
Okay. Now, as the placement was the last thing I needed to do for my diploma, my degree, how does that work? So I think you said on the phone before that we could go ahead and then I could just do that later. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, the detail of that will actually will get clarified, I believe, on Friday with the other deans. But for now, and I think for the sake of this recording, be assured that the powers that be, NESA and the deans, are keen to get teachers into the workplace and not have COVID-19 delay their graduation and eligibility to teach.
Excellent.
So they'll mop up any fallout after the fact and not stop you from starting your career.
Great. Great. Excellent news.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, the detail is yet to come, but that's the clear intent of all the providers.
Okay.
Any other questions from you on any area to do with the COVID?
Well, for me particularly, no, because I'm done with all intensives. But how would that work if, you know, a person like me, I have to do face-to-face learning? How does that work for a person who is in an international situation and needs to do face-to-face?
Yeah, well, until the COVID-19 is finished, that requirement is waived. So,
by the government?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's not a drama. But your other point about lecturers recrafting their Moodles,
yeah,
I think is very well made. And we will all be taking that on board as best we're able. And this is actually a good kickstart to get some of us a little bit more down the track of how that might look. I don't mind saying that, to me, the overriding principle that I always say to students is that you're in charge of your learning.
Mm-hmm.
The lecturer, the tutor, is not somebody who's going to, you know, fill the spoon and give it to you. You have to own it, otherwise it's not real for you. So you need to know what you need to know. And yes, your lecturer can source some of that and help you find stuff and help you craft stuff. But please be an owner of your own learning. And we want to make a pedagogy that really works and connects as best we can in the digital platform.
Yeah, I guess my point was more that we're already doing this online stuff, this Moodle stuff, and these Zoom meetings and things. Because of the way Alpha Crucis is structured, I guess it's a little bit ahead of the curve, because now a lot of schools are going to be moving more towards this platform that weren't before. So can we use this as an opportunity to create a paradigm that works, to model the situation, to model the pedagogy based around this, so that people have the experience that then they can take into the classroom that they're going to be working in?
Love it. I think that's definitely the way we should go.
Yeah.
If I could just add to that, I'm looking more at the big picture and what I sense God is doing through, as a result of coronavirus. I really believe that we've heard it said a lot that life is going to be completely different as a result of coronavirus. And I think we're certainly seeing that with Alpha Crucis. And I agree that because, as Scott has said, you know, we've been Moodle based for a while, and we're almost ahead of, you know, the what's demanded to make everything work now with our restrictions. I think Alpha Crucis is in a position where it can model what's going to work effectively, because there's every potential this is going to not only remain this way for a while, but it's actually going to have to grow and get better. I think we're at the foundation of the way things need to be done. And I think even having a Zoom session like this is an indication of the way that we just check in every now and again to twig things, to tweak it and just make it work as best as it can. But, you know, I'm really pleased that we're in a position where we have the foundation already in place, and now it's just tweaking here and there to make it work well. I guess one question I have, I was just looking at Education 400 and came across a due date that I hadn't seen, and that was in regards to land type. I see an April 8 due date coming up for some things. And I'm just not quite sure, because coronavirus and all the busyness of life right now is sapping our time. And I'm just flagging, are we going to be able to roll with due dates, maybe flexing those a bit, being a bit flexible with those, because we're just trying to play catch up so much.
Yeah. Jim from Idaho.
Yes.
Yeah, Jim from Idaho. Yeah,
but actually from Melbourne.
But currently in Melbourne. Thank you for your question about the EDU 400. That's the course for the newbies in their first semester, which catches up all the mandatory stuff. I'm so thrilled you mentioned Lantite, because have another look at 400 and the Lantite bit. It's actually asking you to do a self-marked trial of literacy and numeracy that you do online. Mark it yourself. Put in the marks. It's not.
But if I read that right, Jim, the questionnaire that we have to have in by the 8th of April, do we have to have a date set for the actual Lantite test?
What we're asking you to do in that question about the date for your actual test.
Yes.
We're asking you to put a date, a season in your calendars, in your case, 18 months away, when you must have done the real thing by.
Yeah.
And for the bachelor people, it might be 3 years away.
Okay.
But at least put that, a stake in the ground. You know you've got to do that before your final placement.
Yes.
So the actual thing on the 400 or the EDU 100 is simply the preliminary questionnaire, which you can do anytime. It'll take you about an hour, hour and a half to do the trials.
Yes.
And put those scores in.
Yeah, okay. So to clarify, in that questionnaire where it asks for a date for the actual Lantite test, that's just a tentative.
You've got it.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got
Good.
it. But there was something else. Go back, rewind a bit to what you were saying earlier, Jim. You used the context of talking about EDU 400 as an illustration or something.
Just an illustration of this coronavirus scenario.
Yeah, you were talking about deadlines, weren't you?
Yeah, I was talking about deadlines, and because you get so busy, some of these things just fall off the radar for you. Yeah.
Well, look, I think, let me pull two things together. Lecturers are going to be more proactive and get the Zooms up.
Yes.
So let's all get into a habit of seeing those news forum posts come through. And we might be in the habit of just pressing delete, 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 because there are so many. But let's be discriminatory. Really make sure this is somebody trying to connect. Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll be proactive with that. And yes, we are going to be flexible with the deadlines. We know, and I've seen today, one student's not completed their deadlines for their work because they've had coronavirus responsibilities in a school. So yeah, we fully understand that, and nobody's going to be cracking a whip and saying you failed.
Good.
Something I want to bring up that you mentioned in class a few, weeks ago or something, that maybe not everybody's heard about Lantite. They are still going ahead, right? It's just they're encouraging people to do everything remotely, to be proctored at home or whatever.
As far as I know, but thanks for that. I'll make a note of that for this Friday's meeting with the other deans, and see if there's any update on that, because it's so intimately linked with the final placement. If people are stuck on their final placement because they haven't got Lantite done, and then because of Corona, they're all intertwined, and we're going to have to be nimble and work with all this. Yeah. So don't get stressed about it. Which brings me on to one of my questions to you guys. I'm personally, I believe, thank God, traveling well. I know some people are not. And I don't really know what to say to the people who are struggling, other than you've got to know yourself and how to manage yourself. I think I think of my wife, for example. Her energy source is when she plugs into people. Now, that's just her DNA. She works like that. And as soon as she's plugged into people, she's alive. But some other people do not need that connection. And I'm concerned for those students who aren't able to connect as much and are fearful of things coming on the earth. So in a pathetic sort of way, I'm encouraging you to work out what is your means of connecting and means of gaining a place of peace. Because without that, we're rich pickings and we're going to be unproductive, and it's going to be bad news. We'll need extension after extension, and that's really because we haven't managed ourselves. So have you got any comment on that and how we can encourage people to manage themselves?
Well, I would say this, Jim. This is the worst time in history for people to isolate. I know that we're being told, to isolate if that's medically or from a health point of view necessary. But yeah, we can isolate in our home, but we don't need to isolate from the world. We've got technology that can keep us connected. My WhatsApp groups are more important to me now than they were before coronavirus, because I can actually feel what people are saying and going through by having that link. And we've got a perfect example with this Zoom. And to know that Zoom is free, there's no reason why people can't be setting this up just as a personal way of connecting.
Sure.
I mean, I feel close both to you and Scott by doing this.
Sure.
So we've really got to exercise some self-care and be proactive about doing what is available to us.
Yes.
And if it's a matter of, I belong to that WhatsApp group, but I haven't really participated, or setting up a Zoom with some people that are really important to you, there are ways and means of staying connected, even when you're isolated to your house. And I would suggest we all think about doing that.
Good. Thank you, Jim. Scott?
Yeah, well, as you may imagine, Dr. Jim, I'm a bit contrarian to a lot of this. One thing I want to make sure, and this relates back to my ideas of getting together some sort of forum to discuss how is this going to affect the teaching of the children. How do we make sure that what's coming out of this isn't a fear of each other? Because it's one thing to connect on the internet, but then to say that somebody else is potentially deadly and you have to stay away from them, to not be willing to shake their hand or give them a hug or something like that, or even go out and see them. Going to the supermarket, you see that people are afraid of you because they don't know you. And how do we discourage that? How do we encourage this real connectivity between people while maintaining health and safety, but without losing trust for one another? And so this is something that I've been going through a lot. I've been putting a lot of thought in how this is going to affect teaching and what I can do to make sure that, how do we encourage people to go outside when they're doing everything online? Any sort of connection. That's ideas that are kind of mulling through my head at the moment.
Well, one practical thought hits me, and again, it's digital, but Scott, I've felt the same. I just don't know what to do with that, because I see somebody walking further away from me as they pass me than they would have done a week ago. And I'm thinking, I would have normally smiled and said hello, but I didn't today. Ooh, why didn't I? That's crazy. And, you know, the fallout of that is going to be monumental if we don't watch ourselves. A practical idea hit me. On each of the Moodle pages, there's a social forum. Now, as Jim was saying, whether it's a WhatsApp or whether students want to use that social forum, I've never had cause to or needed to in the past, but maybe that one can be used. You know, I would be embarrassed to put this on the news forum because it's really very not to do with the course, you know. Well, okay, you've got the social forum. Stick your comment on there. If you've got great ideas for connectivity with people, particularly on your course, or even going onto the normal news forum, if you can be more proactive. I've just discovered this brilliant resource. I wish I'd seen that earlier. Put the link on there. Don't ask for permission, just go and do it. And, you know, if you've done the wrong thing, well, we'll forgive you, but just do it and be there for other people and be concerned for their, as Jim's phrase, self-care. That's not selfish. It's so that you can be a source of comfort for somebody else.
And can anybody set up a Zoom meeting? Could we have a thing where if somebody has an idea, if somebody has concern, a thought, that a student can set up a Zoom meeting?
They can.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I think that maybe what should come out of this is more frequent, maybe, you know, it's not really expected that everybody in course is going to participate, but just more frequent of these interactions. Because like you were saying, Jim, I feel connected to you guys right now, and it's nice because there are only 3 of us. It's a contained conversation. I was talking to my dad about this. He says that he finds that these group conversations are really hard in this forum if they're more than 6 people. So if instead we're doing more frequent smaller ones, it might help out with that sort of connection that builds between people.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Anything else you want to add, Jim?
No, I just would like to say, you know, this has been very good, the 3 of us getting together, and it's kind of reaffirmed to me, watching the echoes of the intensive. I wished I had been there, you know, and feeling the closeness with you and Scott right now, and feeling not as close because I'm just watching a recording when I was watching Echo. It reinforces to me the value of what we're doing right now. Yeah. And I would encourage more of it.
Yeah. I mean, when you say that, Jim, I'm thinking my modus operandi for doing what I'm doing is that it's all well and good for the students to have the skills and the techniques of teaching, but if they are not resilient on the inside, full of strengths, they're not going to have the longevity in the teaching career. Yeah. They'll be picked off like that by the latest tsunami. So what we've got to do in this course is not just give the skills and give opportunity to practice those, but to build ourselves up to be resilient in this warfare that is called teaching.
Yeah.
And Scott, you know, Montessori comes up in my ears so many times.
Even when I'm not constantly saying it?
Sorry?
Even when I'm not constantly saying it?
Totally. Sunday night, there was I think it was Sunday night, there was a program at 10 o'clock on, God forbid, on ABC. And there was a lady there talking about developing online tools in the context of what we're talking about. But she was constantly referring back to the Montessori vision. There's something very special about their connection with between people. which I think we've got a lot to learn from.
Yeah, I'm actually working on trying to set up some sort of online Montessori classroom, or just an online classroom in general, but to have that that kernel that holds everything together. I was considering, pitching it as a Montessori thing.
Anyway,
but yeah, I think there's a lot that can come out of this. I really maybe I'll put up a Zoom on Moodle to talk about what can happen to education from this, because I'm very interested to hear other people's thoughts.
Now, now if you want to start a new thingamajig like that, which is for all, then I'm just thinking maybe we could set up on EdInfo an additional platform. Anyway, we'll talk about that offline.
Okay.
And ways and means of you communicating with everybody. Yes, you can post to EdInfo and put the link in there. Of course you can. Yeah, so let's not clutter the place up with too much extra, but just use the platform we've already got.
Sure. Okay.
Wonderful. Gents, thank you so much. I am conscious of time, yours and anybody's watching. So I'll cut it there if I may, unless you've got a last thought you're desperate to share.
No, that's it.
No, I've got a tutor student that is waiting for me, so
okay.
good.
Okay, God bless. Thank you very much. See
Bless you guys.
Keep in touch.
Bye, guys.